remember being a kid, that's the way we got out. And that's the way people snuck in and invited to take That's okay, we'll go this way. 74. It didn't matter what the thing was. So.
From Wisconsin.
That's right, yeah. So Megan, I mentioned that the stage used to go from the curtain, from the screen to the wall. So it wasn't a big stage at all. But vaudeville typically was one person on stage with a couple of props. So they didn't need a lot of space. But for us to have performances with bands, we needed to increase the size. So because we're on the National Historic Register, we couldn't change the footprint of the orchestra pit, but we could build over it. So it's still down there. You'll see it when we do the tour. You can peek up and see the original orchestra pit. It's kind of cool. There's a grate on the floor right in front of that tub. So that goes down into the dressing room. So I always think it's kind of funny because that was the original PA system. They used to go, "You're on in 5 minutes." Oh, wow. That's how they notified the performers that they had to get up here.
So when it opened, was it silence and all that too, or was it just a stage more so as a theater?
What do you mean silent?
Silent movies.
Yes, yeah. They showed silent movies, and then they would probably have the script on it, and then the Barton organ would play the music. Gotcha. And then they transitioned into the movies with sound. When we got the place too, this was all covered in meters and pipes, and we stripped it all off, and it works so well for comedians. You know, when you see a comedian on stage with that brick wall, you think you're in like a New York comedy club or a LA comedy club. So last time we had the band here. This is where the drummer is, and then you can have the keyboard player. We had a saxophone player, a trumpeter, so we can have a pretty decent turnout on the stage here.
And you just roll the screen straight up?
The screen goes straight up.
Nice.
And all of this stuff was replaced during the restoration. Those are called flies. That would have been what they used to put the backdrops on, and raise it up.
Right.
We just use them now to house the lighting. And then the new curtains were all replaced. So we will go downstairs and I'll show you the dressing room. Familiar with that, but most theaters have a ghost lamp on, which burns continuously. That's supposed to keep the haunted spirits away. Yes.
Yeah,
you were a bartender there.
Yes.
That's right. Sure.
I thought you looked familiar when you were talking. So it's a pleasure to see you
Yeah,
again.
me too. We don't get there as much.
Yeah,
Too much other stuff going on.
right. Since COVID hit, I
Yeah.
hadn't been back.
Yep.
Yeah, Mom got sick.
Oh, I'm
She's
sorry to
back
hear
now,
that.
so, yeah. All the way down,
Yeah, so there used to be 3 dressing rooms and a bathroom, so we put in a men's and a women's bathroom, and we have 2 dressing rooms. And you can look up in the ceiling and see that little hole in that end dressing room. That was how they used to call the guys up the stage.
Very cool. They're big.
Downstairs, here's that opening into what was the old orchestra pit. So it's still there, it's just a little short now.
Out of the way. This is the orchestra pit. What was this here?
Wow.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
Did you go down here?
Yeah, come on down, you guys, and I will show you the lower level. There you go.
It was stored up front.
Yeah,
How it was stored down in the flooring.
yeah, and there was a guy here that said they used to keep the concession stuff in one of the dressing rooms, and then he always had to haul it upstairs. So, I mean, I think the theater was always cramped for space.
Right,
It
right.
still is today. Yeah, so this is the original coal furnace. As you can see, it says push coal back evenly over the grates. So we know it was originally a coal furnace, and it was converted to fuel oil because you could smell it. And I know there used to be an opening in that walkway, in the alleyway, where they would crawl in to bring in the pipe to load the fuel oil. I just don't know where they stored it, you know, I'm sure some of that stuff was taken out of here. But it's cool, people are looking at me, noticing the names, you know, like Ellis Chalmers and just some of the old, Alan Bradley, you know, some of the old Milwaukee names that worked on a lot of the equipment in here. That's part of that duct system that we were talking about, how they heated and air conditioned it. So I will show you the air conditioning unit. That's what they use to bring that cold water off the surface of the Milwaukee River. So, and in fact, there was a guy on the last tour that worked here in the 70s, and he said he remembers when this was functional, that they would turn it on an hour before a show. And he said you could hear the water gurgling as it was going through.
2 foot.
Yeah, so the Milwaukee River is right behind us. We're about I'd say a story and a half underground. But that's where they would pull in that water and run it through this turbine, and it would push the cooler air through the duct system that was in the floor. You have to go here and that was going on. I always say this, they had to build around this. There's no way they could have got that thing in here. Isn't that just amazing? But that's where I saw the Wallace Chalmers, and here they got Cutler Hammer. Those are just
Assemble it
Milwaukee
down here, I
manufacturing
guess.
names. Pardon me?
Assemble it on site.
Yeah. And I thought too, the architectural style, having poured concrete and, you know, cream city brick as the structural,
Correct.
I thought that was really kind of neat.
Why is this like open right here?
You know, that's something must happen through the years that they decided they needed an extra entrance into this
Oh.
area. So somebody busted through.
Okay.
Unless that was the only entrance exit, they needed a second one.
That
In case
could be.
something happened, you know,
Or
fire.
somebody
Okay.
wanted some cream city brick.
Yeah, too.
Yeah.
That stuff
So-
is good.
Yeah. So the heating and all that stuff is, none of this is active. That's not an active electrical panel anymore, obviously. We have HVAC units on the roof. They actually flew them in. They were over at MOA. They couldn't get a crane big enough on Main Street to drop them on, so they had helicopters pick them up at MOA and drop them on the roof. There was a whole bunch of us over watching it when they did that.
Amazing.
Okay, so now we can head back that way, and we will switch with the groups and go back to.
Frustrated with some local researchers, some Cedar River.
Oh, okay. So that's our, when I said this place was flooded, that is the sump pump that we had to put in. Okay, we'll head up. So that goes out into the walkway too. Initially, that wasn't just for show, that was to help with the acoustics, because in 1929, they didn't have like amplified music. It pretty much had to be the voice from the stage, it was what it was. But the texture in the plaster helped with the like reverb. Yeah, and it helped, you know, improve the acoustic. Yeah, when you think of it, 1929, that the air conditioning and the acoustics, it was pretty cool, pretty cool. So that's the projection room. There's some narrow steps, and there is a little gate that has a pretty heavy-duty swing on it, so you just gotta kind of hang on to it tight. Thank you.
Wow. Oh, Mike's got a sign.
Is that cool? They say this is behind the scenes. I said you can't get much more behind the scenes. We're behind the blades, so we're just quite upset. And it's back. So it was, I think Steiner Electric took it down for us, and it was sent to Pavlaki Sign, which is a sign manufacturer in Milwaukee, and they restored it. So here's the base, the simplex, that would have been what housed the reel-to-reel projector on it. And then there would have been another one over here, so as this reel was running out, then they would turn this projector on so there was some overlap, and then they would shut this one off, and then vice versa. So the guys that worked up here in the projection room, they could never leave, because they had to keep the projectors running. So they actually, in that corner, had a toilet for them. Yeah, there's, you can still see the hole in the floor. Wasn't that kind? So this is our new system, it's called the Dolby. I think it was about $250,000. So this is where we can put the Blu-rays and the DVDs in there. And we have an iPad downstairs that looks exactly like that. So all we have to do is turn it on, put in the DVD, and we can run the whole system from downstairs. So we don't have to have people sitting up here all day, running up and down the steps. So what you see down there on the screen is actually coming from here. Wow. That I don't think that's a DVD. That is probably just Scott went online and found a YouTube video. So we can project YouTube things. We can project Packer games. So it's a very versatile system. So any questions?
Do you do these tours often?
We do tours if people ask for them. Like we've had different groups. What they call the Red Hat ladies. They came through for some tours. We've had a lot of school groups in here for tours. I think this is the first time that it's been like a West Bend event.
Okay.
The door's open. That's new. The chamber is doing it this year for the first time.
Is that gonna be a year?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
because I missed out on some of the other ones.
Okay. Yeah, I know they have
The
businesses.
jailhouse in the last tour was at
Yep.
11:30. I'm like, oh.
They also have businesses. I think Westbury Bank, and Serigraph.
You'll do events and all.
Yep. Okay, you guys. No other questions? Then we can head back downstairs. And thank you for coming.